Hello and welcome back to another episode of The Sideline. My name is Ricioza,
My name's Asher Hire.
and your Denver Nuggets are going to the NBA Finals for the first time in franchise history. I
Yes.
I couldn't sleep last night. I was like after the final buzzer sounded, I'm just like in shock. I'm watching everything, and I was like, I'm gonna make brownies because I feel like I deserve brownies. But then I just stood there looking at Twitter for like 3 hours, just like standing, like not doing. I was just like still in shock. And then I come upstairs. I forget to make the brownies. And I come upstairs. I sit down and I'm like, oh my God, I'm so tired. But I was so sweaty from the game because I was so nervous. I took a shower and then that energized me. I was up for another like 2 hours. It was ridiculous. I could not sleep. I was I was the happiest I've ever been. Um for Nuggets game. Hold on. My mic is still so messed up.
Um, yeah, I mean, for me, I actually slept like a baby, I guess. I'm just being so like happy and finally this all comes together. Like I know we like said that the Nuggets would win the championship before the season and stuff, and it's kind of been sitting in everybody's face the entire time that the Nuggets are like the best team, but to for it to all come to fruition and for it to really play out like how it did, I would not have imagined that we sweep the Western Conference Finals against LA, which makes it even better. Um, I mean, yeah, it's unreal, and it's still like processing like how big this is because I don't know, like I remember the champions of the last like 10, 15 years, and now that the Nuggets are going to be in there and potentially winning a championship is crazy.
Like this is like I was so like I celebrated like how when the Avs won, like I celebrate like when they won the Stanley Cup, I celebrated like that last night. So like I've been much more invested in the Nuggets than I have been with the Avs. Like I've
Right.
been through the journey way more. I feel like you are very very similar to that. Like this means so much to just get to this point.
I get, yeah, like the journey of seeing everything. Like I was in Indonesia, like I remember like sixth grade, seventh grade, eighth grade. All the games would be played when I was at school, like early morning at school, with the time change, and I couldn't really watch anything, but I would have my computer open during class and just watch the box score go by. Like, yeah, I remember exactly where I was when Randy Foy hit that buzzer beater over the Clippers. Like watching that highlight, like early morning during class, or seeing that box score go by, and then I remember like I have one vivid memory of watching like the Nuggets Knicks box score with Carmelo Anthony in his maybe first or second year as a Knick. I remember looking at like Kobe Bryant makes 28-foot three. That was in like sixth grade. I know where I was for that, watching that box score go by. But and man, like there was such a rough point with Brian Shaw, just garbage teams. The
Yeah, years
the
were
the
tough.
post George Carl, pre Michael Malone 2 year little era. Oh my god, bro! Like Axel Tupain, um, bro, who else? Anthony Randolph. That was kind of with George Carl, but bro,
Jordan
they're just
Hamilton, dude.
yeah. I mean JJ Hickson. Um, oh my god, there's so many just random players that like stick out into my mind and like that are just playing overseas now, and to have this good of a team now is crazy because everyone on this team is a legitimate NBA player.
Yeah. I mean, even like the last two seasons, Denver's playoff roster was not good. Like their playoff roster did not have playoff players and they didn't have NBA players on it. Like I don't mean any disrespect to Marcus Howard and Facu Campazzo and Shaq Harrison and Will Barton, but like right now those guys aren't playing in the playoffs. Like yeah, technically Shaq Harrison was on the Lakers, but he didn't play. And like I have a sneeze. Okay, it went away. But like technically those guys are on rosters. But like Marcus Howard, EuroLeague. Facu Campazzo, EuroLeague. Will Barton got bought out after he got traded. and was barely getting minutes on a team that didn't make the playoffs and lost their play-in game. Like these are players who Denver was expected to win with, and now you look at how the team is reshaped. One in part to really really good health, another in part to just being better and just being shaped around better with guys like Bruce Brown, KCP, and drafting with Christian Brown and like just it's just formed so perfectly for them to be at this point. And it's just like it's just so surreal. Like it just like doesn't like I look around the room and I have like Nuggets memorabilia in my room and I'm like, I got this at like a game against the Spurs in 2016. And
Yeah.
like where there were like 10,000 fans in the stadium and half of them were Spurs fans and then the other 10,000 seats were empty. And it was like what Jokic said in the press conference last night. He's like, I remember you could hear the ball bouncing and there was no one there. Now they
Oh,
sell it out every other night. To see like the journey that they got to this point, it's just ridiculous. Like it's just
yeah.
insane. It's insane to think that they're actually at this point.
I think my first Nuggets game that I went to, like, because I moved here in the summer of 2015. I'm looking at the roster right now. I like there's one vivid memory of me going to my first Nuggets game. I think it was like Jameer Nelson made like back threes. Um, and the crowd was like going crazy or whatever. But that's like Jameer Nelson. I mean, like, oh my God, a really old Jameer Nelson. I'm looking at this roster, this 15-16 roster with geez, man, Jakar Sampson,
Oh,
Eric Green. I mean, DJ Augustine was oh my God, I forgot DJ Augustine was on this team. Joffrey Laverne, Sean Kilpatrick, I don't even remember.
I remember him on the Nets. I didn't know he was a Nugget.
8 games, I guess. Mike Miller, Kostas, however you pronounce his last name,
Nicolas.
Papa Nicolau. Um, dude, there Eric Green. I honestly don't even remember him playing on the Nuggets. He played 43 games. But yeah, to see this turn into, but like this was the core too, because it had Jokic, it had um Gary Harris, who's part of the core, and Will Barton. Like these were the building blocks, and to see like all these players kind of stay with their team. I know like Gary Harris and Barton left before this year, but like still they were here for a lot of the success.
Mm-hmm.
And then drafting Jamal the next year, and then Porter the next year. Um, just beautiful drafting.
Yeah, it's like exactly what you could have hoped for when you were looking at how to build a championship team through the draft. You did it perfectly. You got culture guys, you got good role players, you got a star. Like you did everything possible to build it properly. When I saw before I saw a tweet either last night or this morning, and it was about how Denver like the best case scenario would be kind of like the prime Spurs, like the dynasty Spurs, where Jokic would be like Tim Duncan, Jamal Murray is like Tony Parker, Michael Porter Jr., Gary Harris, if health willing, would have been able to stay. They would have been the Kawhi Leonard, Manu Ginobili type of players, and that would have been where you go from. But for them to actually like have a chance at doing that now after being healthy, like you look at how they've just absolutely ran through the Western Conference, and you look at the future of the Western Conference. There's nobody who can really like match up with Denver in terms of future success. Like in terms of that they're gonna have future success. Like Memphis, you don't know what's gonna happen. Like you don't know what's gonna go on next year with Memphis because of the Ja Morant situation. You don't know what's gonna go on health wise with Zion. You don't know what's gonna happen in Golden State. You don't know what's gonna happen in LA. Like there's like a couple teams that are gonna be good. It's like Sacramento and Denver. Like that's it. Those are the only two teams that you're gonna be confident going into next year that are gonna have a chance at truly, truly competing, which is insane. And Phoenix, I guess, for next year. But like outside of those three teams, like there's not a lot of competition against Denver. So like they could have a Spurs run if everything goes
Oh,
right. I mean
that's what
everything goes
I'm,
right.
and I genuinely think like other than injuries, I don't know how it could really go wrong, because like everyone in the starting five is entering their prime, like they're in the very beginning of their prime. It's like the
Mhm.
perfect age. Jamal 26, Jokic 28, Gordon 28, 29, Porter 24. Like all these guys are in
Gordon's
the
like 26. Gordon's young.
26. All right.
He's young. I think Denver got him when he was 24. I'm pretty sure. Like he's in his like seventh or eighth season, and he's only 26. It's actually pretty
Yeah,
crazy.
he's 20, he's 27.
Oh,
That's
okay.
crazy. I thought he was like 29. Um,
Yeah.
so like, and they have all those players locked up,
Hmm.
contract wise for, I think like I don't even know when the next one is a free agent. Probably at least 3 years. Maybe is it Porter or Jokic? I don't know. Murray maybe in 2 or 3 years, but uh, like I don't see how. I am really like smelling kind of a dynasty brewing because it's the perfect teammates personality wise. It's the perfect teammates on the court wise. Um, and like, yeah, as you said, there's no really other team like that kind of has the group that Denver has. I see like Orlando becoming a very good team. They're kind of, I think,
Yeah.
like a 16, 17, 17, 18 Nuggets team on the rise.
Yeah.
Um
I agree.
I really like that team, and they got some like serious players.
I
Um,
love Orlando. I
yeah.
absolutely love Orlando. Their future is so bright.
I mean, you can look at Sacramento, I guess, but I still don't think there's enough like talent. Even if Fox becomes great, like even better, and Sabonis, I feel like this is kind of Sabonis's ceiling with his inability to kind of shoot and stuff. But yeah, like the Nuggets are like the only team in this perfect situation right now, like what Golden State was six
Yeah.
years ago, seven,
Yeah.
8 years. But
Yeah.
anyways, I think
It's
we can get into like the series and game four, um, how the Nuggets kind of swept them. Like for me, I obviously going into the series, the matchup to look at was Jokic and AD, and it wasn't even close. Who outperformed that? Jokic completely outperformed AD. I think Jokic had 53% shot 53% against Davis. Davis shot 47% against Jokic. Jokic had like double the possessions because AD couldn't guard Jokic and they had to take him off him. Um, like and just the difference. I mean, 80's defense, I didn't notice it. 80's offense. The thing about 80's points that I've kind of noticed, I guess, is like they're very quiet. The 40-point game he had game one, I don't know, felt like maybe 28. The 28 and 18 game he had game three. I would if you had told me how many points he scored, I would have guessed, oh, maybe 17. And then last game, I guess he had what, 20 something points. It felt like he had like 10, even if
like they
that.
showed his stat line at the end of game three, and I was like, he had 28 and 18. Like that's
I
a
know.
ridiculously good stat line, and I didn't notice him out there at all. It was
No,
ridiculous.
the way he like scores his points is just so unimpactful. First off, he's not going to make any threes. Basically, he gets all his points at the free throw line. It's not any of these like momentum swinging kind of
Hmm.
big baskets. They're more just random like fouls that just, and he doesn't go on like a big 8-0 personal run. It's just like he'll score like 6 points a quarter and boom, there you go, 24 points. Um what so yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, but his series was so weird because like he obviously had to put so much effort in defensively because like he was guarding Jokic a majority of the time, even though it did switch off of him. Like he still was on Jokic one on one for a decent portion of the series. Like he had to put in so much effort. Like he had to try more defensively than he did offensively. I think, which one sucks for the Lakers because they need him. They needed him to be great offensively in the series if they wanted to have a chance. And two, it's great for the Nuggets because it just takes him completely out of the game offensively. Like he was gassed at the end of every single game. He had no legs. He couldn't get up the
Wait,
court.
which makes like no sense looking at him. He's like the oldest 30-year old I've ever seen, or 29-year-old.
Yeah. I really think that if the Lakers in this offseason, like they have a ton of decisions to make. Like, what are you going to do with Hachimura? What are you going to do with Reeves? What are you going to do with D'Lo? But I think one of the more glaring things is you got to go get another center because you have to. Anthony Davis in the playoffs won't be able to hold up playing the five. Like just throughout this stretch, it's very clear that like he can do it and he'll play good and he'll play well. Like he didn't play bad in this series. Like he was still very impactful and he still was an incredible defender. But like Anthony Davis as a power forward plays more perimeter. He plays a lot more a roller way on defense. Like he just has more of an impact playing the four. And with Russell Westbrook, he was forced to play the five. And I think now they kind of know the direction of what to do with that. So if they go get another center, I think we'll start to see what we saw, the previous years that he was in the playoffs when he was performing at an all-time high level. But this year, he playing the five, going up against Jokic, going up against Draymond, and having to be so involved defensively, it was not a good look. It was not a good look at all.
Absolutely not. And like, I don't know if it's necessarily like, I guess it's a hot take, but I don't see why like they would just like run it back like this. Like I feel like now is like kind of the time like this team is on the verge of blowing it up. And I think that's what they should do. I think they should trade Anthony Davis for younger players. Because first off, all right, if you trade for Kyrie, you're not winning anything. First, he's Kyrie Irving. Nobody likes him, and he's not a winning basketball player. And you're not beating the Nuggets for the next 4 or 5 years. And LeBron will be retired by then. If he might even be retired by next year.
Yeah.
Anthony Davis is not getting younger. He's getting much older, and every year really seems like it's like adding 3 years onto his body. He's gonna get more hurt. It's just what it is with AD. He always gets hurt. And then outside of that, like you said, Reeves, they're gonna have to do a lot to try to bring him back, and he's really their only young player that's like decent. Yeah. I mean, Rui is a good player, but whatever. It's not like
you can't build around him. I don't
exactly.
think.
It's not like he's gonna be like an all NBA player, I don't think. But
no.
So I mean, now I think this is the highest value you're going to get Anthony Davis for the rest of his career. Right now, you're not going to trade him in 2 years or whatever. He's going to be much older. Right now is his top value. 2020 after the bubble was probably the best value. But right now is like second best. And I feel like he's just not good enough. He's just not. Like people say when healthy, he's a top 5 player. He's not. He can't shoot. His post game has fallen all the way down. I'm pretty sure since joining the Lakers, all of his jump shooting, they've been like 11th percentile, 12th percentile. I think maybe he got 23rd percentile this year of jump shooting, which is awful. So he can't do that.
Yeah.
His defense is spectacular, but again, you're not beating Jokic for the next however many years. He doesn't pass, obviously. He's a great defensive rebounder. He's a decent offensive rebounder, but like outside of that, he scores his points just off of like either LeBron setting him up, or he falls down after he misses a layup and he gets the foul call. And like, so I don't have any like respect, I don't think, for Anthony Davis, especially after 2020, the bubble, and then after this playoffs, and like one of the softest like on-court players. And again, he's not going to be a number one. Didn't work at all in New Orleans. Probably like he won like one playoff game with New Orleans, maybe, or one playoff series or something.
Yeah, they won that series against Portland, and that was it.
And that was because of Drew Holiday like clamping Damian. So
yeah. He's not a number one. Like I agree with you on that. Like if LA is gonna blow it up, I think now has to be the time. But I don't think they will, because like LeBron at his age, he still played so well. You have to capitalize on it. He's not gonna retire. Like he's gonna get a farewell tour. One, because that's the type of person he is. Like that's not an insult. Like he's deserving of one because he's LeBron James. He's gonna get a farewell tour. And two, like it's just to me it looks like it's a negotiating tactic to the Lakers. Like, hey, I'm willing to sit a year out unless you guys go get somebody, which is likely Kyrie Irving. but like it's Anthony Davis is such a like he gets like you said he gets so many of his points off of assists. He doesn't have a lot of ISO buckets unless he has a mismatch, and he has never been able to be a number one in his career. Whenever he's been a number one, they've made the playoffs twice as an 8 seed and a 6 seed. He's won one playoff series. He's won I think 4 total games as a number one in the playoffs. Like he's it's just not in his nature. It's not who he is, which is like fine. Like that's okay. But to say that he's a top 5 player, to say that he's on par with Giannis and Jokic, is just not true. Like it's not true. And I like to me, it's been apparent since the bubble. Like he had a great bubble run, but through that, he hasn't gotten anything close to that level. Like anything close. He's been injured. His jumper completely like you said, he can't shoot a jumper, but in the bubble, he was ridiculous. He shot 55% on long twos and 38% from three. And every single year since then, he's been at like 30% on long twos and like 26% from three or something ridiculous. Like that run from the bubble was such a ridiculous anomaly for him
Right.
shooting the ball. And you need to be able to do that as a number one option in the NBA. You just have to. And if he
I
can't
will
get back to that level, he's able to do it.
I will give him credit for the first 2 series. He was definitely the best player on the Lakers. And honestly, like a top, people are saying he was like, it was Booker, Jokic, Butler, and AD had the best first 2 rounds.
I agree.
But that's against Memphis, no Steven Adams, against the Golden State. Their tallest player is like 6'8".
Yeah.
I don't know. And then he finally goes up against, I wouldn't say a real big because Jokic is like so much better than a real big man, but like
Yeah. Jaren Jackson's a real big. Like he's like an all-star of this show. He's a real big and AD dominated that series. But like a superstar big would
yeah,
I guess be the way to put it.
yeah. And he just completely disappeared. I mean, his defensive strength isn't like one-on-one defense.
No.
It's what he does weak side or help side, like coming over and swatting the shots away, which is why I thought going into this series, like people are saying, oh, AD, is the guy you want to pick against Jokic, which I guess like he is, but his one-on-one defense did not hold up against Jokic, and I don't think really holds up against, really talented big men.
No. 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 We're not talking about the Lakers.
Yeah,
We're the
I know, right?
Nuggets.
We're
Nuggets.
we're the ones talking about the Lakers now after they criticized the meeting.
The Nuggets. So this game 4, to me, this entire playoff run has been about Denver like fixing their mistakes from their previous rounds. So in round 1, Denver they go up 3-0, and in game 4 against Minnesota, they had a chance to win it in the third quarter. They go up 9. Minnesota calls a timeout. Out of that timeout, Nuggets come out lackadaisical. They were sleepwalking through that entire game, and Minnesota comes out and it has to go to overtime, and Minnesota wins, and then you have to go through a grueling game 5, like a hard fought game 5 to win that series. Then in the second round against Phoenix, they are down 15 in game 3 against Phoenix. They come back, they take the lead, but they're not able to close the game out. They lose. Game 4, same stuff. They're down, they come back. It's a close game all around. They're not able to close it out. Game 5 and 6, they do close it out. They come out better. They play better defense. Game 6, they close it out on the road because they know we got to do it now. This series was like kind of the same thing as both of those combined. In game 3, it was very similar to, I thought, how some of the Phoenix series went, or actually how some of the Minnesota series went. Like they did not let the Lakers get fully back into the game. Like, yeah, they took the lead every once in a while, but they didn't let them take control of the game. And in the fourth quarter, Jokic took over in game 3. But in game 4, I thought it was a carbon copy of game 3 against Phoenix. Like they go down big at halftime, but coming out of the third quarter, they come out huge. They outscored the Lakers by 20. The same thing that happened against Phoenix, but they didn't close the quarter right. They still go down in the fourth quarter down, and Phoenix ends up winning. But this game, like, they took the lead at KCP and one layup.
Yeah.
I don't think Denver gave up the lead after. Like, they got tied, but they never gave up the lead.
Yeah.
And, like, that was them, like, just learning from their mistakes, knowing, like, hey, we have to close it out now. Because they knew We lose this one, we got to go back to Denver, and it's going to be so hard to close it out because that's just how closeout games are. Like this was just such a perfect way to end it, and like I was sweating bullets. Like that was so hard to like stay calm. I don't know how the players do it. Like it's
Yeah.
just ridiculous.
No.
I would
Eh,
crumble under the pressure every time.
yeah, and like that late game, I'm so confident in the Nuggets now. They've always been a good clutch team with Jokic throughout his career. Um, and now when you have Murray and this two-man game that just seems that it's just deadly and really unguardable because you can run so many actions with those two and they know each other so well. Um, that in the clutch when you need a bucket, you go to that two-man game every single time and it'll carry you home, I think. And so to have a luxury like that, to have both of your stars be able to play with each other, hello, Jason Tatum, Jalen Brown, hello, Kyrie Irving, Luka Doncic, Devin Booker, KD. They don't run plays for each other.
No.
But Jokic and Murray do. And when you have two studs running an action between both of them, it's unguardable. It's Curry, Draymond, Curry, Clay, like those Shaq, Kobe, those dynamic duos that work together. Duncan Robinson, like those are the best you're gonna get, and like it's just so hard to
I
stop.
thought you were just saying Duncan, like the name Duncan Robinson, like on the Heat. I was
Oh,
like, what? Like, but I was like, oh,
my bad. I forgot that's like an actual name. Yeah, Tim Duncan, David Robinson.
I was like, you're gonna say Duncan
Evan
Robinson. Did you call me that? And I was like,
Duncan Robinson. um, but yeah, so I think that's a super like underrated thing is to have
yeah,
a
yeah.
duo
Like,
that can,
I like that. That's why they're the best duo in the league
yeah,
because they can do stuff together. Like, Jalen Redick said it before too. Like he was like, and it was very apparent against Miami with Jalen Brown and Jason Tatum. Like they can work together, they can play together, but they can't play with each other. Like they can't play off of each other. They can't play together. Um, Denver can. Murray and Jokic can. Murray and Gordon can. Jokic and Gordon can. Jokic and Porter can. Murray can. Like all of their top four guys can run sets with each other with either person ball handling, either person scoring, either person playmaking. They can do all of that together. And that's just such an underrated aspect that they have. Like it's so like at watching other teams play, like you don't really realize how lucky Denver is to have that until you watch other teams play. Like
yeah,
it's not just necessarily like big man and guard. Like yeah, that's how the prototype works, and Denver's lucky that they have that. Like LeBron and AD, they have that. They can run plays for each other, but it doesn't go both ways. It's just LeBron to AD. It's not AD to LeBron.
right, right.
So that the fact that they both like they're both in the top five of assists to each other in both ways. Like every single year they're healthy, they're both assisting each other just as much as the other assists them. And
Yeah,
it's such a great dynamic. Like it is truly Shaq and Kobe esque, like Malone Stockton esque in
yeah.
terms of how they work together.
And then to have Porter and KCP, two of the best shooters in the NBA, like out on the wings, and then Aaron Gordon in that perfect dunker spot and offensive rebounder spot. Um, it just complements each other so perfectly, and they had 123 offensive rating in this series. Um, 118 in the first series, 121 in the second series. So they keep improving. And the
Yeah.
Lakers were the best defense of any remaining playoff team. Um, and to do that against them, like, man, I don't know who can. I mean, there's
Yeah.
no team. I don't think that's. I think the Nuggets are going to win the championship, and like,
Yeah. Like nothing about Miami like their run right now makes any sense. Like they're not this is not the same team that was playing in the regular season. Like they're shooting way better, they're defending, but like they're doing everything at a higher clip than they were in the regular season. It doesn't make any sense. So like you have to take those matchups with a grain of salt, but just looking at it at face value, Miami cannot guard Jokic. Like that is the thing. Like Coach Spoelstra is incredible. He is phenomenal. He's the best coach in the league right now. but I don't know how you can scheme Jokic. If Anthony Davis, as the roamer, could not stop Jokic,
Right.
Bam Adebayo is not going to do it. He doesn't have the size to be that effective as a roamer. They don't have the size to put on Jokic to make Adebayo the roamer, and Bam's too small to guard him in the post.
Yeah.
Like it just looking at it, it doesn't make sense how they're going to be able to stop him. Um, if I was
Right.
Miami, I would just double every time, like make him a passer. You cannot let him go one on one against Bam. But like with the way that Jamal Murray is playing, you double. If you rotate, you can't rotate off of him. You can't let Jokic be open. You double off of Gordon. Someone else is going to cut. He's wide open. You don't have the size to help off of him. Porter's going to be open in the corner. He's shooting great from three in the playoffs. KCP's been one of the best role players in the NBA. Like, how do you guard that offense if you're Miami? I don't, I don't know. Like, I don't understand how they're going to be able to do it.
Yeah, Adebayo's like defensive value, I think, comes on the perimeter with his like switchability. So I mean that could be a factor in the series, I guess. If Bam is on Jamal, that's not like a guaranteed bucket. Like Jamal did cook AD a little bit on the switches.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Bam will play better perimeter defense. And then like their zone that they run, they'll go like first quarter they'll run man, second quarter zone, and then man in the zone. Like to just switch it up a lot. But Jokic is the best zone breaking player
Yeah.
in NBA history. I mean,
Yeah.
you put him in the middle of the court against a zone because that's always where you want to get the ball to is like the nail
Mm-hmm.
of the zone, and to have him, the best playmaker ever, dishing it out. I mean, that's just
Yeah.
you can't
He
guard that.
he likes being at the nail against man, against single coverage. Like that's
Yeah,
his
yeah,
spot regardless. To do that against his zone, like I said, like I don't know how you guard that. Like he's
yeah.
the
The
best
key,
zone buster
right?
possible.
The key will just be getting it to him. Like I feel like Miami's got to try to deny it so much
Mm-hmm.
when he comes up on in the nail and try to deny that pass. But I don't know. I mean, they'll throw some crazy stuff because Spoelstra, like, because I remember him saying, in the regular season stuff, he still has no answer for Jokic. But once he gets like a week off and thinks about it, he'll definitely throw some crazy coverages out there. But I think Jokic is, just too good of a player, and he'll be ready for it. So,
Yeah,
uh,
but I'm like oh, I'm excited. Like 9 days without watching the Nuggets is going to be annoying.
I
And
know.
if Boston doesn't extend the series tonight, it's going to be 9 days without basketball, or at least without NBA basketball in general, which is even more annoying. um, but yeah, I just like, and I think Denver defensively they match up pretty good against Miami too. Like
Right? Yeah.
they don't like they're like that's an underrated part about Denver. They're huge. Their starting lineup is huge. You have three guys who are 6'9" and taller. Like they rebound everything. Michael Porter Jr. was phenomenal rebounding the basketball, and he averaged 9 rebounds, also 3 assists, which is my God. Um, like he has evolved so perfectly into the third star, not star, but the third fiddle, with Denver, and like you look at who's going to guard Jimmy Butler. Aaron Gordon, I don't know if he'll be quick enough to guard Jimmy Butler, but then you have KCP, who I actually think would be a better matchup on Jimmy because of his quickness, because of his hands, because of the fact that he doesn't necessarily get into foul trouble that often, and Jimmy Butler is one of the best foul drawers in the NBA. So like I feel like KCP might be a better matchup, but you have versatility there. You have Bruce Brown you can throw on him. You have Christian Brown you can throw on him. Like you have other guys aside from Aaron Gordon. Like in this series, against the Lakers, it was Aaron Gordon. That was the only guy who had a chance physically to match up with him. But now you have other players who can match up against Jimmy. And like it's just gonna come down to if Miami's gonna shoot like this again. Like, and I feel like a Lakers fan saying like, oh, they're not gonna shoot like that again. Okay, well they have through 3 series, they have shot like this, so you have to expect that they're gonna shoot something like that. But like
But
it's gonna be tough. This isn't gonna be an easy series like at all. I'm terrified of what Spoelstra's gonna cook up defensively.
I I agree. I think like Murray could be due for a big series again because he doesn't have to face Nikhil Alexander Walker, Josh Okogie, Dennis Schroeder, Jared Vanderbilt. Like the Heat don't really unless they put Jimmy Butler on him, they don't have that like
How they,
long, pesky defender that can try to bother Murray, even though he hasn't been bothered at all. Like Murray, again, I'll be honest, I don't know how Gabe Vincent's defense is at all, but he's like 6'1" and
yeah, it's
doesn't
not
seem
really good. It'll be Caleb Martin. I like that. That's who it's gonna be. Like at
okay.
least just watching the previous games, which is once again you have to take those with a grain of salt. One, because Miami's just a different team, but two, like the rotation Denver was playing in those games is hilarious. Like Bones was playing a ton of minutes in those series, and that was a big part of the reason they won that first game. And Vlaco started one of the games, and he came off the bench and had 15 points in the other. Like it was weird, but Caleb Martin was the guy on Murray at least in the first game, and they would play Jimmy off the
Okay.
ball.
I know Kyle Lowry has played amazing defense.
Yeah,
He's got like the most blocks on their team in the playoffs, and he takes those charges and he just gets up into you and stuff. So he's annoying, but he comes off the bench. So I don't know how much they'll really be. Murray and Lowry will be matched up with each other until maybe the end of the game, where if Lowry's playing well, they'll just ride with him to the end. Um, but I don't know. I'm feeling pretty confident, very
yeah.
confident with
Like
this series. All right, we're
so,
back.
like Miami's strength really comes from their wing defense, but their wing depth, and then their team defense off of that as a whole. So that could be an issue for Denver, but I like they're not a big team regardless. Like Cody Zeller's their biggest guy, and he's not going to be able to really make too much of an impact on Jokic or on with the bench lineup. He's not like a truly physical player. He's a good player and he's a good backup center, but I don't think he's going to have like an impact that like kind of Jock Landale had or how Rui Hachimura had in terms of size and ability like that. So like to me, that's just I don't see how they're going to be able to stop them because I don't think they have the size. Like the one thing that bothers Murray and Jokic and the offense in general is size and length. And like they're small and they have length, but it's not a ton. Like it's not crazy. Like Westbrook never plays Toronto, they're in hell because every single player has like a 9 foot wingspan. Whenever they play Brooklyn, it's hard because a lot of their players are super long. Miami doesn't have a bunch of long players. Like they play really small. Um, it's just so like it'll be very very interesting. Like they're gonna have to rely on just being the smarter team and just not making mistakes. Because Denver's gonna capitalize on every single one of them.
Yeah, and they need to shoot the lights out again.
Mm-hmm.
I think if they want to have a chance, like obviously if they keep up the shooting percentage, 19 for 35 from three in game three, then like yeah, that's gonna be really hard to beat. But like I don't think they're at 54% from three for the entire series. But they got some guys like Vincent can definitely shoot. Obviously, Duncan Robinson shoot. Cody Martin, all of a sudden, like
Yeah, all of a
he
sudden
can
he's been
shoot,
incredible.
especially from the corner. So you got to watch out for that. Um, but like
Yeah, then like
these
Larry,
guys
Kevin
aren't
Love, those guys.
really, yeah. Other than Cody Martin, like the guys with the Lakers, like Rui could drive off of the if he got the ball on the baseline, he could pump fake and drive. Like Duncan Robinson can't really do that. Gabe Vincent is kind of too small to be going into the paint. Max Strus doesn't really put the ball on the floor like that. Um, so you just got to be connected with them, going around screens, like be really in their grill because they're not going to be able to break you down like Rui or like Schroeder or like Reeves,
Mm-hmm.
and get to the rim and get to the mid range.
Yeah,
So just stay attached, fight through those screens. I like I know you said KCP on Butler would be a good matchup, which I think it will, but I think it might be more needed for KCP to be on Struce to be able to go through the screens and stuff because I like
oh maybe.
Aaron Gordon on Struce or I mean I guess Kevin Love is out there, but like Porter or Gordon fighting through those screens,
Yeah, that's true.
I think could be tough. So I would rather have KCP flying around. Um, so yeah, but
Well,
I don't know.
that's a good point. That is a good point. I'm sure that's probably what Denver will do. Like I'm sure Denver's primary matchup, regardless, would have been Gordon on Butler. Gordon's been incredible defensively the entire season, especially in the playoffs. Um, so yeah, I was just saying like Gordon tends to get into foul trouble a decent amount. Jimmy
True.
Butler draws fouls so much on aggressive defenders. He's very, very good at it. And he's not like a grifter. He doesn't flop. He like will try to score, and then if there's contact, he'll exaggerate it. He won't try to go for contact and exaggerate it after. Um, which I think that does not play well for Denver, especially if they want to play physical in the series, which they're going to have to. But um, yeah, I think you're right. Like it's going to be really, really hard. They have like that was a really weird part about Miami's regular season is that they do have good shooters. Like all the
Yeah.
guys that underperform are good. Like Duncan Robinson shot like 33% from three. Like I know he has underperformed since he signed the contract, but nothing about him has said that he's a 33% 3-point shooter over the course of a full season. Like Gabe Vincent was like 35%. Like he's better than 35%. Max Strus was under 40%. He's a 40%er. Like all of these guys underperformed all at the same time, and they all at once turned it up.
And I think Jimmy's better than like a 31% shooter or whatever he is
Yeah,
in the
well, he
regular
just like
season.
stopped shooting threes
Yeah, I know.
entirely in the regular season.
I know.
It was so weird. But he's shooting them in the playoffs, and he's making them a lot more. So it'll be so interesting to see because I think Denver's the biggest team that they've played, like in terms of actually being able to use their size properly. Like I know Boston went to that big lineup for the first couple of games, but it didn't work because excuse me, because Robert Williams wasn't really that much of an offensive threat. He was a vertical threat, but he wasn't like a floor spacer. And I think defensively, you could take advantage of him by putting him on the perimeter. I don't think you can't do that with any of Denver's bigger guys except Jokic, but he's going to be in the paint the entire time anyway. So it's going to be it's going to be really, really interesting to see how Denver's size matches up with them because like I really do think Denver could take advantage of it. Like Paul isn't a small guy at all. Like he's still a big guy. He also draws a ton of charges, especially since he's been in a Miami uniform. He draws charges a lot, so that'll be a matchup to watch on Aaron Gordon because he is
Yeah.
very, very aggressive in the post. If he tries to post up Kevin Love, he's going to get offensive foul every single time. Uh, so that'll be something to watch. But yeah, this has to be a Jokic. Like Jokic has to dominate this series. If he doesn't, something's wrong. Like he's missing a lot of shots. I think this could potentially be a big Michael Porter Jr. series. They're going to force him to put the ball on the deck, but he has been able to do that so far in the playoffs. Like he hasn't really. I mean, he hasn't turned the ball over at all, essentially, in the playoffs. So I'm confident with him putting the ball on deck and just rising up over smaller guys for mid-range jumpers. Uh, Jamal is going to have to be able to not make mistakes off the ball defensively. Like, there's so many different things that go into it, but I think Denver, once again, like I say this, Denver's talent gap should be able to win them the series, but Boston's talent gap should have been able to do that. Milwaukee's talent gap should have been able to do that. So I don't know what to do about I don't know how to analyze that team. They just make no sense.
Yeah. No, yeah. They're definitely believing. Jimmy Butler has them believing. They're all very confident right now in shooting the ball, which confidence is pretty much everything when you're a good shooter. So like, yeah, I mean, but man, I think Denver is just so much better than like Giannis. Like, come on, bro. Giannis is just so brutal in the fourth quarter. He cannot score. And you
Yeah.
have Jokic there, and then obviously Boston, man.
Boston as a clutch team
I realize they're
that's
talented.
like the big thing. Like
Yeah,
all the teams they've played are bad in the clutch. Like they're bad clutch teams. Denver's been the best clutch team in the league, and Miami has been the second best clutch team. So expect a lot of close games. But yeah, keep
yeah.
going.
I mean, just if you want to talk about Boston a little bit, I mean, Joe Mazzulla, man, he's terrible. And
It's tough. It's too fun.
none of the players like believe in Mazzulla at all. He's lost all confidence in him. And it kind of stinks that for the Celtics that he signed a contract extension. So I feel like he should be. I mean, I listen to his post game interviews and it's like, man, he pisses me off because other than 2 days ago when they lost game 3, he actually took accountability at that time. But other than that, oh my God, he attacks the reporters. If the reporters ever critique him, he attacks them. He always
Yeah.
cuts off reporters during middle of questions. he'll blame everyone else except for him. He's just not the way he talks. I don't like it. It's very like condescending or whatever, and doesn't. I would not want to play for that guy,
Yeah,
because it doesn't
it's
seem
such a
like he's
like I
cool.
think I don't know what the rules were because they didn't technically fire Udoka until like I
Yeah,
don't even think they ever did fire him. I just think they like quietly let him walk away from the team and suspended him. So like I don't know if they could have hired another outside coach
mm.
or like poached someone from another team because they like it seemed like they immediately just were like, okay, if you don't get suspended, it's gonna be Missoula as the guy now.
They
So I don't
probably
know
had
what the rules were.
yeah. I don't know how the whole Will Hardy thing went down. Like when he signed with Utah compared to when Missoula got hired.
Yeah.
Uh, but if Brad Stevens had a choice between Missoula and whatever his name is, the guy that I just said, Will
Will
Hardy,
Hardy.
um, like he messed it up because Will Hardy is definitely a serious coach. Joe Missoula is not
Yeah.
serious. Um, so I don't know if because like I feel like Will Hardy would like take a head coaching position at Boston if you offered it to him. So it feels like they
Yeah.
chose Missoula. Um, so yeah,
Yeah. No, I don't know when it like Will Hardy could have signed his deal with Utah and then like, a month later they could have done I don't remember the
yeah,
timeline of everything. Um I do remember that the Udoka stuff happened pretty late into
right.
the off season. Like it was close to training camp at that point. Might have even been in training camp. I don't remember. But like if they had a choice between Hardy and Missoula and they chose Missoula, that's a big mistake. But like I don't know if they could have gone and got someone from another team because they should have. Like Joe Mazzulla was like the third or fourth assistant. Like they lost a decent, like they lost Udoka, they lost Hardy, and they lost Damon Stoudemire. They lost a ton of people in that offseason, and they were forced to take Mazzulla as the guy. So I just like that's in a tough position to be in. Like I don't know if
Yeah, that's true.
like he did sign a contract extension. I don't know how all of it works. Like I don't
Yeah.
know if you could demote him back to an assistant and then go sign somebody else. He probably won't want to take that. He's like, I just first year I led the team to the conference finals. What do you mean? Which like that's a fair statement from him, but he doesn't look ready. Like he doesn't look ready. It doesn't look like he
No,
has
and
the
that
respect of anybody in the locker room.
yeah, that's where I guess I need to chill out a little bit. Like I'm kind of bashing Missoula a lot, but he's just clearly not ready. He's only 30 years old, 34 years old. And as you said, being like the fourth or fifth assistant, there's no way he was preparing to be a head coach like up
Yeah.
until that Udoka stuff happened. So I guess for him, I mean, they had a very successful regular season, um, except for some stretches, but overall, great. And like really like I bet Celtics fans kind of knew that Missoula was like not very good, but I think for everyone else who's not really a Celtics fan, just an NBA fan, like Missoula, his choking and stuff, like and him being like consensually like a bad coach, um, kind of just started in the playoffs. Like I didn't really notice it in the regular season. Maybe towards the end of the regular season, I'm starting to remember stuff about how like he would just always run the same play for Tatum at the end of games or something, and then it like wasn't
Yeah.
working. I don't know, but he was definitely getting
But
critiqued.
also, I don't know if you remember this, but like at the very beginning of the season, his like Quizlet, like scouting
Oh,
reports got leaked.
yeah, that was funny. There's a Quizlet for every NBA player. Um,
Yeah.
I kind of want to get into, I guess, for just like the rest of this, we've been going for 50 minutes. Like this is my favorite part. I want to get into the media, but I want to like just break down everything with the Nuggets, what happened, because this win against LA felt like a win against LA and it felt like a win against the media because oh my goodness, man. And they're still going. I was watching. I don't know why I watch these things, even though I just like hate on them. But like Colin Coward was on my TV in the morning, and what is the first thing he talks about? Kyrie Irving to LA. That's the first thing he talks about. The LA's offseason, and he just rambles on about that. And then I watched Skip and Shannon, their breakdown of the Nuggets game. I think it's a 23-minute video on YouTube. I would say 19 of those minutes are them talking about LA because this is how it kind of goes. Like now, I'm noticing there'll be like the Nuggets are a great team. Jokic is an all-time great. Murray's great. Porter's great. AG's great. That's it. And then they're done with the Nuggets. So like, boom, there's the respect. I called you a good team. I
Oh,
didn't say
they have to mention Jeff Green because that's the only bench player they know.
Oh, yeah. They'll mention Jeff Green because he was a LeBron teammate.
Yeah.
So like, and that's all they'll say about Denver. They won't say like why they're good. They won't talk about really the Jokic Murray 2-man game. Like all the questions, all the headlines or whatever is about like how does this affect LeBron's legacy? How come the Lakers couldn't do this and that? When really the questions could be just like, where does the Murray Jokic duo rank? Like talk about like that's such an easy Nuggets question to just throw out there. And yet they just pick down these like Laker questions. It's just garbage. I'll never respect Kendrick Perkins. I'm so glad that I mean, really, like people are saying, how are the Nuggets underdogs? Why do they keep saying they're underdogs when they're a 1 seed or whatever? But first of all, 14 out of 16 ESPN panels picked the Suns in that series. The Timberwolves, it was like a 55%, 45% Nuggets.
Yeah.
When really it should be like 80-20, 90-10. And then this Lakers series, oh my God, dude! Like the moral victory game 1, the moral victory game 2. Finally, like the Nuggets shut them up, but everything that like, because I saw Michael Malone say that he thinks the Kendrick Perkins stuff got to Jokic, which like really pisses me off. I mean, Kendrick Perkins, just not like where that stat padding thing came from, and then bringing race into all of it. I mean, come on, bro. Like that's literally like, and to be so wrong, and to be so baseless, and to be so like egregiously disrespectful to Jokic. I'll never respect Kendrick Perkins. If I get an internship or whatever, and Kendrick Perkins is my boss, is like, bro, like I don't like care like what you say to me, bro, because I will never take back what he said about Jokic. It's just nasty, and to see him lose, and then to see him talk about like the Nuggets and how good of a team they are and all this stuff, and now Jokic is the best player in the world. Like, dude, shut up, bro, because you were just talking about how Jokic is stat padding, and now here he is dropping triple doubles in the playoffs, the same stat lines he would have in the regular season. Yeah, I really hate Kendrick Perkins. Nick Wright is another one. Kick him to the curb. Skip Bayless is just unlistenable too at this point.
The entire it was so apparent that the media was like not happy that Denver won. Like it was apparent in the announcers' voices. It was apparent in the halftime crew and in their assessment. Like they were not like in a good mood talking about the Nuggets. And it was like Mike Breen was doing his best to stay impartial, which good. He's one of the best announcers of all time. He was doing fine. Right. But Mark Jackson and Jeff Van Gundy, like they had no enthusiasm on talking about the Nuggets. And anytime anything with the Lakers happened, you could hear their voices perk up. You could hear them start talking more about the Lakers.
Yeah.
And it's just like even today, it was on First Take. It was like JJ Redick was saying like we don't market
exactly what we said in the previous episode. I'm like, dude, this is the NFL media and the NBA media. Yeah, whatever. Go on.
Yeah, like he said like they don't market the sport, they market certain players, and there's 450 players, and there's 30 teams, and there's other people we can talk about regardless of the Lakers. And then for like 5 minutes later, they bring in Brian Windhorst, and Windhorst is like, sweep ever was the greatest team losing a sweep that I think I've ever seen in my life. And I'm just like this is what they're talking about. You can't say, oh, Michael, why are you saying that you guys are underdogs and we don't talk about it? You talk about it. The self-awareness is hilarious. It is unbelievable.
Especially with Brian Windhorst, man. I mean, you talk about like a joke. Like that guy has built a career just because he was covering LeBron in high school, and that's his entire like resume. And Michael Wilbon's entire resume is that he covered Jordan. Like, boom, you just happen to be the same age as Jordan. Nice. So like, there's definitely a list. Like, there's a list of guys that are like Nick Wright, Kendrick Perkins, Brian Windhorst. There's this brother from another podcast, I think, and one of the guys on there is an absolute hater. Keyshawn Johnson, Max Kellerman, I don't like. He's just like a dork, and I don't like him at all. But I don't know who else, but Stephen A. Smith, he's a joke, of course. But Brian Windhorst, man, he's talking about all this disrespect stuff. He's like, how are the Nuggets disrespected when Jamal Murray has a max contract? That is not just because the Nuggets front office respects Jamal Murray. That does not mean he's respected in the like. What does that have anything to do with anything? And then he says this. He says this. Why all this disrespect talk about Jamal Murray? How about respect Austin Reeves? I'm like, I basically just like I turned it off. I'm walking away. I'm like, Austin Reeves, like Bleacher Report posted this thing about how Austin Reeves turned into a meme. Like, bro, Austin Reeves gets posted for the weirdest like stuff. Same as Caruso, he gets the white Laker treatment. You know, anything that happens with Austin Reeves, they post. And then, so first of all, there you go. There's the respect, and he's down 0-3. So like, why are you focusing on Austin Reeves? And he's averaging like 22, and Murray's averaging 35 on 50, 40, 90. Like that's why are we talking about Austin Reeves, dude? The only person bringing Austin Reeves into this is you, and I mean, for no reason. It's because you're a Laker fanboy, and like all these guys are Laker fanboys. Shannon Sharp, I actually like respect Shannon Sharp because I don't know, but whatever. He's a Laker guy, anyways, too. But
he's a LeBron guy. He's not a Laker. He's a LeBron guy.
Yeah,
because
I
he's
should
been
say
in
LeBron
Cavs since before.
Windhorst is a LeBron guy.
Yeah.
I mean, Michael Wilbon is absolutely terrible. Jalen Rose, not a pleasure. Richard Jefferson, you know, whatever. He'll have some decent takes, but then he's also kind of dorky and like, I don't know. He'll talk about the Lakers a ton too, and it's like, bro, like JJ Redick, the host of the Brother with a Mother podcast, that guy's actually good. But the guy he brought on, well, I looked at his Twitter page, and he's like a lawyer, like in DC, that like a politics guy. I'm like, what? Why is this guy talking about basketball? But Jay Williams, shout out to him. He actually knows basketball. But yeah, Keyshawn Johnson, man, absolutely.
Keyshawn Johnson said that his hate on Jokic was a bit. Like, no, it's not. That's just backtracking.
Exactly.
You're just like, oh my god, it's ridiculous. And like Dave McMenamin, I think that's how to pronounce his name. He's what I think he's like another Lakers beat guy.
Fanboy, yeah.
Yeah, and he was like on one of the podcasts like, we're going into conference finals and lose to Denver. Like, dude, like what? They're the ones who play a 7 seed. Yes, it's possible they might lose to Denver. What?
The way
like use your head, man, please.
There's like an attitude like in their voice whenever they talk about Denver, which is just like not necessary at all. Colin Cowherd did say that Jokic is like, you know, the best player in the league, which we've known that since 2021. I think that's been our like thing. Like for the past 3 years, I think Jokic has been the best player in the NBA. And right now, like it's not even close. It's not. The gap between him and second place, which I think is Curry. Like the gap. All right, let's go. The gap between him and Giannis, who is kind of the consensus #1 player. Man, it's really big.
It's huge. And that's like people were saying that like, well, Giannis and Jokic are both 10s on offense. Like, Giannis is a 10 on defense, and Jokic is like a 6.
Richard Jefferson.
No, Giannis is not a 10 on offense. Giannis is not a 10 on offense. He's like a 7 or an 8 at best. Like, yes, he can put up points. He can dominate the game offensively sometimes, but he cannot control the game nearly as much as Jokic. And the DNVR guys said this a lot, and I'm going to start adopting this. So shout out Adam Mares. But like they were saying, like, you watch Jokic one game, you're not going to get it. You watch him, you know, once a week, once a month, every time they're on national television, you're not going to get it. You won't understand. You watch him every single game throughout the course of the postseason, every single game throughout the course of the regular season, then you'll understand like what he does and what he like everything that he does as a method. There's everything he does is planned out. Everything he does is up to him, and he controls the game at his pace every single time. And people just do not understand that because they don't talk about them, they don't watch them, they don't put them on national TV. Like, you will not understand until you watch them every single game. And I'm so glad that people are starting to see it, because at least now people are like backtracking on their opinions. Like, they're saying like, yes, he's very good. Yes, he's best in the world now. we've been on that train for 3 years. I have a video on this channel of me saying that he's the best in the world after he won his MVP. Like I said, he had been playing with the best in the world since Game 7 against Utah.
Yeah.
Like I have proof that I have said that, and we've
Right.
both been on that train for since that point.
But it
But
keeps
now finally, because people are watching them and they understand, like, oh wow, you need help to win.
it
It's
keeps
incredible.
like
It's so pleasurable to see the 180.
the consensus and the media, they're always like 2 years behind, I think. Maybe even
Yeah.
3 years behind. Because like, it started out with Jokic Porzingis, and then it went Jokic Towns. It went Jokic AD, and I was saying Jokic is better than AD probably like 2019 before COVID. I remember saying that
Mhm.
Jokic was better than AD. And then obviously so I guess they're 4 years late, maybe now that I'm saying that. Um, and then obviously it became Jokic is the best player in the world. That was about 2020, 2021. Now I think Jokic is the best offensive player ever, which I think will be what they say in about 5 years. Um,
Yeah.
and I
I
think
mean, like, if you once you look back on this run that Jokic is on, if Denver's able to close this out and win a championship, this 3-year run, 2 straight MVPs, running for a third straight, like one of the greatest statistical playoff runs of all time, culminated with a championship and a Finals MVP. That's one of the best 3-year stretches in NBA history,
yeah,
like bar none. That is one of the best. Like it goes like Hakeem going back to back with his MVPs and his championships. It's like Jordan's stretch in either one, like 96 to 99 or 90 to 93. Like those stretches, LeBron with his 4 MVPs in 5 years, like there were stretches where you look and like, wow, that's an all-time great peak. This is going to be viewed at as an all-time great peak if Denver's able to close this out because
right.
it's just like you just look back, he's averaged like 27, 11, and 9 over 3 years in the regular season. And you look at his postseason stats, they're even more ridiculous. Like it doesn't make any sense. Like
Yeah.
he is
Like,
truly a statistical anomaly.
I mean, there was that whole thing about him not winning 3 MVPs because he's not like an all-time great or whatever, but he is. He's better than Larry
He
Bird. He's
is.
better than who's the other guy that won three in a row? I'm forgetting.
It's either Wilt or Bill Russell. I don't remember
Whatever. I mean, he's
one of
better
those
than
two.
both, so who cares at
Yeah.
that point, really? So I mean, he is one of those guys. He is an all-time great. I think like a top. Oh man, top
So
three.
a ring and Finals MVP is going to create some incredibly uncomfortable
Yeah,
conversations.
I'm thinking like peak wise. If this is his peak, wait, it could even get better. Like this is a definitely top 10 peak of all time. I want to say like top 3 peak of all time.
Yeah.
Um, and honestly, like it could be the best. I don't
The
know. I
best
mean,
peak that I've watched. Like I didn't watch LeBron when he was going, Kobe, MJ, obviously, like, but from when I started watching basketball in 2017, this is the best peak that I've ever seen. Like this is the best studio stretch I've ever seen.
I mean, if you're looking at basic stats, like it's not close because LeBron's peak, I mean, probably like 31, 8 and 8, I'll say is his peak. And Jokic, blows those stats out of the water, man. I mean, and not even close. Obviously, Jordan, his counting numbers or per game numbers outside of scoring, like doesn't add up to Jokic at all. So like if you're just looking at purely box score averages, like that's the Jokic's like triple double averages is like the best you
Yeah.
can get with the efficiency because you can look at Westbrook. Oh, Westbrook average triple double. He's not talking about like this. Well, look at his shooting splits, and that's why.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
His shooting splits, his usage rate, his record in the postseason,
yeah, yeah.
which not like his fault. The team was not built to win, but that's part of it. But yeah, and like I think a Jokic ring and a Finals MVP, you're gonna start talking about him being better than Dirk. I think.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's like I don't think there's any like he has more MVPs, has a similar Finals run. He doesn't have an All Star or like a loaded team or like if you ask all time who's better, Rick Carlisle or Michael Malone, people are gonna pick Rick Carlisle every single time. Like you talk about all those other intangibles, Jokic is probably gonna be better. Like I'm thinking this might be weird. I'm thinking like even potentially like Dwayne Wade. Like Dwayne Wade's like I don't know where I would have him ranked. I to me he's the third best shooting guard clearly like of all time. Like it's MJ, Kobe, Wade, and then a huge gap between AI and Harden,
Yeah.
or with AI and Harden. But as like a player all time, I think like top 20, probably like around there. He's probably going to be right. Like he's going to be above a ton of people who are like, wait, hold on.
Yeah.
Like
No, and then
this is
I'm thinking of like the best big men in history, like Hakeem, Kareem. I mean, right now Jokic is on a better track than Hakeem. Hakeem didn't win his first ring until 10 or 11 years in, I believe.
yeah.
Obviously Kareem's gonna have that like scoring number that Jokic is not gonna pass, and he's not gonna get 6 rings or however many Kareem has.
No.
Um,
There's 6 rings. Just has I think it's his 5 MVPs.
yeah,
Like the ridiculous longevity.
that's
Kareem, I think, is untouchable. I don't think he's going to be able to get to that level.
maybe
Hakeem,
second.
I have Hakeem like way higher all time than a lot of. I have him like top
Oh yeah,
like
no, I love
7.
him. Yeah,
Like, but so if he can get to Hakeem levels and get to top 10, that would be ridiculous. But he's gonna
yeah.
have to get another like at least 2 more rings.
No, that's why I brought up Hakeem is because I think he's the second best center of all time, and like Kareem is
Mhm.
first. So, I think he's better than Shaq. I think he's better than Dwight. Obviously, I don't know why I said his name, but I'm thinking of like best big man of this past era. He's the best big man since Kareem, probably, um, or since
Yeah,
Hakeem, I guess.
yeah.
Uh,
I think I like I look you look at like David Robinson. Like I think he's probably better than David Robinson. If with a ring and a championship, he's better than David Robinson. Shaq, he'd probably need to get 2 rings to probably
yeah,
pass Shaq in most people's eyes. I think he's
I
more
guess I'm
skilled.
talking
It's
more like peak, like right now, or just like as a
yeah,
player, like
peak.
Jokic.
Oh yeah, peak is yeah, peak way. I think yeah, peak. He's ridiculous. I think the only people who can pass him in peak center wise would be Kareem and Hakeem. Like that's it. There's no one else. Wilt doesn't count. That
I know. We'll
Wilt,
just like
Wilt doesn't count. I did. Wilt Jokic's breaking all of his records anyway, so he's above him regardless.
and Will
Uh,
does Will even does he have a ring? Does he have one?
he has one. He has
Yeah,
one. He's been there a ton, but he only has 1 ring.
yeah.
I think it was with Jerry West. I think.
Oh no, he's got two. 1970. Oh, 1972. I don't really count that. That's like it's like the last year of his career. I don't think he was putting up crazy numbers, but well, actually, I don't know. It says he won Finals MVP.
Uh,
Whatever. That's like 50 years ago. I don't care.
yeah, it was a while ago. And like saw a stat is like Jokic is the 4th player to average a triple double in the conference finals, and Wilt's triple double stat line is so funny. It was like 17 points, 32 rebounds, 12 assists. I was like, oh, per game.
32. It was
It's
crazy.
just ridiculous. His stats like they don't make sense. It's like Babe Ruth. It's like I don't like it. That's not real. Like it doesn't. That's not a real human being.
No, yeah, absolutely
Doesn't make
not.
sense.
Um, all right, so I think we had it says 7 minutes left in the Zoom. I kind of want to like talk about for the last 7 minutes, like how in this new era of like NBA, I guess. I mean it's pretty new. Like with everyone being able to shoot, that really only happened, probably since like 2015 or whatever. Like it hasn't
Yeah.
been that long where literally everyone pretty much can shoot the ball. And everyone, this is the most talented the league has ever been, and that'll keep increasing. Like the league in 2040 will be more talented than the league right now. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so like I think just playmakers are going to be so valuable going forward. The guys who can like be able to kick it out to these super talented, super skilled players who can all shoot, like that is just so valuable right now. And I think the most valuable that the playmaker has ever been, because like if you look at Jordan, like he's like the only guy in that era like who's just a straight killer. Like and he's just so much better than everyone else around him, scoring the basketball that he doesn't really even need to like pass because no one else can really make a shot. But now in this era where scorers don't win anything, and they really like historically haven't won much outside of Jordan, and Kobe, but Kobe did have like another an all-time great next to him. Um, But like Allen Iverson, nothing. Kyrie Irving, he had LeBron. Outside of that, nothing. Um, Kevin Durant, outside of playing with Curry, nothing. And all these guys that I'm saying, are playmakers. Like Kyrie without playmaking LeBron doesn't make the playoffs. KD without playmaking Curry and Draymond gets second round. But they're weird though. Like there's some playmakers that are just like different. Like Luka Doncic, I know the assist numbers are insane, and he makes insane passes, but like there's just something different with his playmaking compared to Jokic's, where it still feels like Luka is kind of hard to win with. But that could just be like defense strictly. So I don't know, but
I think it's his defense, but it's also the fact that he has never had like a competent roster around him. Like
that is true. But I'm thinking like even like Harden, because Harden, his assist numbers are insane, but he hasn't done anything in the playoffs outside of when he had Chris Paul. Like he was definitely a scorer in Houston. This Philly team has all the pieces that you need. They're just so like mentally not there that they just don't like. I can't like count them because they're just not a real like team. Like they're just not functional. Even though they have all the pieces, you have Harden a playmaker, you have Embiid a scorer, and then you have a bunch of role players who are good. Like I feel like that's really all you need. That's what the Nuggets have: playmaking, Jokic, scoring, Murray, bunch of great role players. Warriors, playmaking, Curry, scoring, Clay, bunch of great role players. Boom, dynasty. Like that's all you need. But Philly, James Harden and Embiid, I can't trust. So I don't know, but
yeah.
I think the guys.
I feel like early 2000s, it was like you need to have like a big man. You need to have a strong big man 2-man game to win. Now you have to have shooting. I feel that playmaking is just going to be such at an all-time high in terms of demand. Like it's wing defense and playmakers.
Yep.
Denver, I think, was slightly ahead of the curve in terms of that, and going out drafting Christian Brown, signing Bruce Brown, training for KCP. Like they got them. Bruce Brown, playmaker, wing defender. Christian Brown, KCP, wing defender, shooters, cutters. Like they got all the pieces around them that you need. These great this formula to win around LeBron has always been so simple. It's been get one or two really good scorers around him and then surround him with defenders and shooters, and that's all you need. So the fact that it's only happened like once or twice in his career that they've actually built that type of a roster around him is pretty crazy.
Yeah. There's also like the shorter players are definitely getting phased out. Like guys who are like 6'2" and under. Well, man, I mean, there are not many of them at all. Kyle Lowry,
Yeah,
it's like the only remaining guy playing. But that, and then what was I gonna say? Oh, there's no like like you have to have an NBA body now to play. Like there's no more like 6'3" Kyle Korver's running around. Like the sharpshooters now are like 6'7", 6'6", 6'7". So yeah, like being small is just like it sucks for the average person, but you have to have an insane body and an insane wingspan to at least get like playoff minutes.
Yeah. I mean, look at Denver. Everyone's huge. KCP's like 6'4", 6'5" as a sharpshooter. Christian Brown, it's like 6'7". Michael Porter Jr. 6'10". Aaron Gordon's huge. Jamal Murray for a guard is pretty big. He's 6'4", 6'5". He's very versatile in the way he plays. Yeah, I agree. The league is getting bigger. It's getting better. It's getting more talented. Sucks for the average Joe. None of us are ever gonna have a shot at making it unless we're generational at something. But it's gonna be fun. I'm so excited. June 1st. We'll probably do, once the this series wraps up, whoever wins, either if Boston makes the greatest comeback in basketball history or Miami closes it out tonight or whenever they do, we'll probably do a series preview, and we'll figure that one out. So it's gonna be it for me. Unless you got anything else.
All good. Good episode.
Thank you all for watching. Go Nuggets. Peace.